Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, President Trump wants to change who can legally immigrate to the U.S.
We are proposing an immigration plan that puts the jobs, wages, and safety of American workers first.
With a focus on merit, the president outlines a system based on highly skilled workers. And why some advocates of clergy sex abuse victims are skeptical about a new settlement offer.
It's about what happened here in San Diego and what responsibility do we have to make the changes that need to occur in our community.
And how San Diego's Jewish community is working with March for Our Lives to discuss the issue of gun violence and mental health. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. It's Thursday, May 16th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. President Trump's new immigration plan favors people with advanced degrees, a job offer, and English skills. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman tells us more about these proposed changes to the immigration system.
And we want immigrants coming in. We cherish the open door that we want to create for our country. But a big proportion of those immigrants must come in through merit and skill.
President Trump says his immigration plan is a modernization of the current dysfunctional legal process.
Future immigrants will be required to learn English and to pass a civics exam prior to admission.
Trump is proposing using a points-based selection system.
You will get more points for having a valuable skill, an offer of employment, an advanced education, or a plan to create jobs.
Trump's plan would call for immigrants to be financially self-sufficient. He says priority would be given to higher-paid workers. Trump says he wants to get rid of meritless claims for asylum, too.
If you have a proper claim, you will quickly be admitted. If you don't, you will promptly be returned home.
The president says his proposal would also create a fund for border improvements.
Investment in technology will ensure we scan 100% of everything coming through, curbing the flow of drugs and contraband.
Meantime, to help with the flow of migrants at the southern border, the Department of Homeland Security is turning to TSA workers. Emails reviewed by KPBS show more than 250 TSA employees have volunteered to support Customs and Border Protection efforts. TSA workers from San Diego are being asked to volunteer for jobs ranging from transportation, security, and healthcare. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Also today, the Trump administration canceled nearly $1 billion in funding for California's high-speed rail project. The agency that provides the funds claims the state is not making enough progress. Governor Gavin Newsom says he will sue to keep the money. The Trump administration is also trying to get the state to pay back $2 billion that was already spent. The local Catholic diocese has a new program to pay victims of sexual assault. But some of those victims say it's not about the money. KPBS reporter John Carroll says they want accountability.
Good morning.
In a Del Mar hotel conference room, a banner said it all: stolen souls. The people at this table are either victims of sexual abuse by Roman Catholic clergy or family members of victims.
Do you know what it's like to be terrorized, tormented, abused, and knowing that you can't do anything about it, that nobody believes and nobody's going to care?
6 Roman Catholic dioceses in California announced a program this week called the Victim Survivors Compensation Fund. It offers payouts to victims of abuse with no statute of limitations, and it will be administered independent of the church. But a lawyer for abuse victims calls it a ploy, since victims would have to agree never to sue a diocese if they take the money.
That's not reconciliation. That's not recognition. That's not vindication for victims.
Survivors don't get their day in court if they opt for taking the compensation fund. We can't expose wrongdoing of the systemic cover-up by the church. We would be unable to enforce accountability.
Sharita Ruiz's son was victimized as a young boy.
It's not about the money. It's just with us for the rest of our lives. We go on daily, but there's something that triggers us almost daily.
Aida Bustos of the Catholic Diocese of San Diego says the compensation fund is the church's way of trying to right past wrongs.
And we recognize our failures, and through this program, we hope to begin the process for anyone who has been sexually abused by a priest as a minor to step forward and to get the redress they deserve.
The program is being administered by an independent mediator who has been in charge of the fund for 9/11 victims. It is expected to go into effect within the next several weeks. John Carroll, KPBS News.
A major change to the way California deals with housing won't be voted on until next year. SB 50 would change zoning laws to allow higher density housing near public transit and job centers. Today, a committee in the state Senate decided to delay a vote until January. Bill supporters say it's needed to reduce housing costs, improve traffic, and meet climate goals. Opponents say it weakens local control over housing decisions. San Diego is considering a new program to help police officers afford homes within the city. The program would put up $250,000 of city funds to help police officers make a down payment on homes within San Diego. To qualify, officers would have to commit to working for SDPD for 5 years. City Council member Chris Cates says less than 30% of officers live within the city. That means they have longer commutes and less of a connection with the communities they serve.
They see the opportunity to purchase homes in other parts of Southern California, whether it be Riverside, Hemet, you name it. They feel that they could purchase that home there and then commute. But what we're seeing is that commute with the non-traditional work schedule is going to deteriorate the quality of life of those officers. And pretty soon they start looking at other options that are out there.
Cates says he's working on getting matching funds from banks. City council members are scheduled to discuss the proposal on Friday. A new team of medical workers is getting out of their offices and into the streets. KPBS health reporter Susan Murphy says the goal is to reach those who are homeless.
Like this because I have scars inside.
Living on the streets has taken a heavy toll on Leo Donat's health. He says he recently passed out from anemia and broke his jaw on the concrete.
In the operation, they didn't realize I was homeless, so they wired my mouth shut. And being homeless, what am I gonna eat? I don't have a refrigerator, I cannot prepare food, I cannot liquefy anything, so I suffer greatly.
Ramona Garcia has also suffered. The mother of 3 says a lack of bathrooms and showers makes it difficult to keep clean and leads to rashes and infections. She also has anxiety.
Yeah, I have a mental disability myself personally, and it's difficult for me to trust people.
It's cases like these that led Father Joe's Villages to start the region's first street medical team. Medical director Dr. Jeffrey Norris says 30% of homeless people have complex health needs but don't seek help.
By providing health care directly to people in the streets, we can build rapport and trust with the goal of increasing patients' participation in the care they need to get back on their feet.
Norris leads the team. He says twice a week, 2 to 4 health workers deploy to the streets to provide primary care to those in need, including treatment for high blood pressure, diabetes, and skin infections.
But a lot of abscesses, a lot of other skin conditions like scabies that need treatment. So just meeting people's, at least initially, basic needs and trying to get those skin conditions addressed.
Norris hopes to expand the program to offer psychiatric treatment and dental services.
I have AIDS and schizophrenia and anxiety.
Edith Madrigal has lived on the streets for 8 years. She hopes she'll get a visit from the new medical team, though she knows her conditions are extensive.
Some would like to help me.
Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
The company behind the SAT will expand a new scoring system that ranks students on their social and economic background. The College Board tested the system with 50 colleges last year. Students are given a score of 1 to 100 based on 15 factors. Those include census data and other public scores. Race is not one of the factors. Students of color are high achievers on state tests at several local school districts. A study by the Learning Policy Institute looked at test results while controlling for socioeconomic status. Students in 8 local districts were among the highest performing. The Chula Vista Elementary School District ranks at the top for African Americans. Researchers say income and family education were the most reliable predictors of student performance. Survivors of the Parkland shooting have started an organization called March for Our Lives, and they've written a book. A Glimmer of Hope tells the story of how these teens started a movement for gun reform. The Lawrence Family Jewish Center is partnering with March for Our Lives for an upcoming discussion. I'm joined now by Betsy Lynch, the CEO of the Lawrence Family Jewish Community Center. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how does the mission of March for Our Lives connect to the mission of the Lawrence Family JCC?
The intersection really comes from an important place. Jewish life is a little bit different than other faiths to the extent that it's not just about belief, it's about action. And what our hope is, by bringing Sophie and Brendan to the table to show the inspirational way that they've created change in their world and being the change that they wanted to see by becoming advocates because of the terrible tragedy that happened in their community, we want others to be inspired to take action, to be that change, and not just sit back and let the world be what it is.
And you mentioned that this is the second in the series.
Yes.
So how's the conversation been going? Has it been pretty lively, emotional? What was the tone?
We also held an event earlier in 2018, which was a conversation with Nick and David Sheff, who talked about addiction and how that impacts individual families. In the addiction conversation, our theater was packed. There were over 500 people there, and they effectively asked, who in this room has been affected by addiction? And almost every single person in that room raised their hand. So to know that this is not about one particular group of people, but it's about humans and us being together to understand each other and to support each other. The struggle that people have with addiction is unbelievable. And to know that we can be in an open space to have that conversation and recognize the support that community members need in that was incredibly important. It was terribly emotional, tears all over the place, but so empowering and so inspirational. And we have confidence that the conversation that we are going to have with Sophie and Brendan will be exactly the same thing. In parallel to the recent events that happened here in San Diego, the irony of we had planned this event long before anything happened within our community. And now the meaning of this is so much more significant to all of us, because now this isn't about Parkland, Florida, and this isn't about the events that happened in North Carolina. This isn't about what happened in Colorado. This is about what happened here in San Diego. And what responsibility do we have to make the changes that need to occur in our community to make sure people have the support, mental health support that they need, and that people can be responsible gun owners? It's incredibly, incredibly important conversation.
Closer to home here in Poway, did it feel different because it was closer to home?
Of course. I mean, it was deeply personal to our community, as we lost a member of our community, and one of our precious children and rabbis were all directly affected by this, and it's personal to us. There's no question about it. But the same measures that we feel in the thought process that we had and what it felt for it to be personal here, the same feeling as when the synagogue massacre happened in Pittsburgh, or the shooting at the mosque in New Zealand. All of those things affect us deeply because of our strong belief that people should feel safe and be safe in their place of worship. So while it's very personal to us, it's not new to the Jewish faith.
Thank you so much. The event is part of the JCC's Community Divided, Humanity United series. It takes place in the Garfield Theater Sunday, June 2nd at 5 p.m.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, one-on-one with Senator Elizabeth Warren on her race for the White House. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
In most states where marijuana is legal, it's still only allowed as medication. Amanda Vinicky with Chicago Public Media looks at the reasons why.
Chicago-based Cresco Labs grows some 30 strains of marijuana at its main cultivation center. While the marijuana leaf may be the unofficial international symbol for weed, that's not where the plant's power resides.
So if you look closely at this flower part, you can see that it has a dusting or a frosting of trichomes. Those are little oil glands that do contain the cannabinoids.
Those cannabinoids are the promise that Cresco seeks to harness and sell to patients in Illinois who are looking to marijuana to alleviate their symptoms. Patients like Adrienne Aronson, a 78-year-old grandmother and artist who suffers from fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia is constant pain throughout your body.
When those didn't do the trick, she followed her physician's advice to visit another doctor, a specialist in integrative medicine who somewhat unwittingly became an international expert in medical marijuana after Illinois' law passed in 2013.
I knew nothing about this as a physician, and I read further into it, and I saw that the qualifying conditions described my medical practice: fibromyalgia, people with cancer, multiple sclerosis.
Dr. Temple says her waiting list ballooned since she became one of the doctors willing to certify that a patient has a qualifying condition. Though hesitant at first, Aronson says weed is working. She says when she first visited Dr. Temple, on a scale of 1 to 10, her pain used to measure an 8.
The last time I went to see her, she said, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel great. I feel fabulous."
She takes her medicine religiously. A chunk of cannabis-laced candy she keeps tucked in the fridge every night. She says it helps her sleep, and a good night's sleep helps her with the pain.
So you can see how big the stick is. And then I take off a little bite, maybe about so much. And each stick is, let's see, there are 4 sticks, 100 milligrams. So there are 25 milligrams of THC, whatever that is.
It may taste and look like candy, but Cresco's Nelson believes in the healing power of these pot gummies and the other products his company makes, the cannabis gel tablets, oils, and tinctures.
There really are true medical benefits from.
How does it work? What magic might these hoppily pungent, leafy green plants hold in helping to stem nausea and seizures?
Our body actually has an endogenous, our own homemade system that creates cannabis-like looking substances. The way cannabis works is it influences those systems in a way to either enhance one of those functions, to help us forget pain, to get us to eat.
Details on how, even whether marijuana does this, are elusive. Because the federal government classifies cannabis as an illegal drug, researching it has been difficult. Northwestern medicine doctor Stephen Hanauer is going about it in a roundabout way. He's about a year into a study that's comparing Crohn's disease patients' personal evaluations of how they're feeling with blood and stool samples that can detect intestinal inflammation. The study isn't complete, but Hanauer has a hypothesis.
My suspicion is that it makes the patients feel better, but it doesn't really change the disease activity.
Making pain subside sounds great, but that isn't the same thing as a cure.
We don't want the patient to be fooled and think that because their symptoms are controlled, they're out of the woods as far as the inflammation and the prognosis for the disease is concerned.
It's not the miracle that many people will tout, that it's a cure-all, and it's also not this evil vice that everyone should avoid. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and the truth is going to be different from person to person.
Temple says it isn't as simple as writing a prescription for a pharmaceutical drug that's gone through the rigors of FDA testing. It's trial and error. That's precisely why Dr. Hanauer says marijuana is not a medicine.
We don't know what dose patients should be using. We don't know what dose is going to be effective, and we don't know what dose is going to cause them harm.
Illinois' medical marijuana program is still technically in the pilot stages, and it's tightly regulated. So much so that our cameras aren't allowed in dispensaries where products are sold.
I'm concerned that the legitimizing of this as a medicine sends a message to the community that it's a free-for-all and let's just use it willy-nilly.
As for one of her patients, Adrienne Aronson's busy prepping for an art show. She's thankful she's virtually free from fibromyalgia pain, and she'll tell friends who ask.
Yeah, I'm taking pot. I just love to be able to say that.
Should Illinois legalize marijuana for recreational use, Aronson's friends could take pot too. Anyone 21 or older would be able to pop a cannabis candy or smoke a joint. In anticipation, Illinois-based marijuana companies have been growing, well, like weeds. In Chicago, I'm Amanda Vinicky, WTTW News.
We'll continue to feel those winds across the deserts and mountains as we continue through tonight and into your Friday morning. If you're out to Borrego Springs, Pine Valley, high wind advisory in place. We're going to see gusts up to 50 miles per hour. And most winds, sustained winds, running 20 to 30 miles per hour. So out to the deserts through the rest of tonight into tomorrow morning. Still the chance for some reduced visibility as we talk about blowing dust. Tonight at the coast, partly cloudy skies in San Diego with a low of 61, dropping down to 53 in Oceanside. Still could see some showers into San Diego as we head into the overnight. And then we'll be looking at clouds back into Borrego Springs and Mount Laguna with a low of 38. And the wet weather not quite over just yet, but for Friday we will notice most of the moisture well to our north out to Nevada, Utah, and towards Northern California. Cool air settles across Southern California as well as into Arizona, and we'll be feeling that into your extended forecast. We take you into tonight, 8 p.m. Cloudy skies. Notice some shower activity to the south of Mount Laguna. We'll continue into 11 o'clock. Later tonight, some showers into Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna. Also likely to see some showers popping up, but at the coast around 11 p.m., that wet weather potential really dwindles down. Then as we head into your Friday afternoon, well, look at that drier air. Clouds going to be less available to us as we head into the later day Friday. So tomorrow, high of 67 in San Diego, upper 60s as well for Oceanside, and then looking at a high of 80 in Borrego Springs, 54 in Mount Laguna. A drier forecast to come. Now the weekend, there's still a chance for some wet weather Sunday, but Saturday you start off dry with a high of 70 at the coast, and then some cooler air with our next low pressure approaching on Sunday, as well as a chance for some showers at the coast and inland. Notice dropping 10 degrees from Saturday to Sunday in inland areas. Then we'll be looking at a warm up to come into the extended forecast for all regions as we head past Monday. Cooler air on Sunday for the deserts with an afternoon shower. Breezy conditions tomorrow in the mountains, and temperatures still feeling a bit cool even into the end of the weekend in the mid 40s. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
A new version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is in San Diego. KPBS Arts editor Nina Guerin has a preview and tells us about some other events happening this weekend.
Perhaps you think you know the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but there's a new musical version that's filled with sweet and not so sweet surprises. Violet, Veruca, Mike, and Augustus suffer pretty grisly endings, which is why all the roles except for Charlie are played by adults. It brings a new level of dark humor to the show, and it also features puppet Oompa Loompas designed by artist Basil Twist. It has ballet dancing squirrels and new catchy songs to go along with classics like Pure Imagination. This weekend, the San Diego Museum of Art opens a new exhibit, Art and Empire, the Golden Age of Spain. You'll see paintings and sculptures and other decorative arts from the years 1660 to 1750. It's also the first time since 1935 that all 5 of the Spanish masters you see on the building facade will be shown together at the museum. 1990s nostalgia is all the rage right now, so why not revisit one of the decade's more talented but underrated bands, the Dandy Warhols.
I never thought you'd be a junkie because heroin is so passe.
You may remember the Dandies because of the hit Not If You Were the Last Junkie on Earth, and because the song We Used to Be Friends was the theme song to the TV show Veronica Mars. But since those days, the Portland-based band, led by Courtney Taylor Taylor, has continued to record its experimental, psychedelic brand of indie rock. If you didn't see them in the 90s, make sure to catch the Dandy Warhols this time around. For KPBS Arts, I'm Nina Guerin.
Here's a recap of tonight's top stories. President Donald Trump is calling for changes to the immigration system that favors highly skilled workers. His plan changes the criteria for those who are granted green cards, such as advanced degrees, job offers, and English language skills. Governor Gavin Newsom says he plans to sue over the latest blow to California's high-speed rail project. Today, the Trump administration canceled a grant of nearly $1 billion. The agency that provides the funding says the state is not making enough progress. Father Joe's Villages is starting the region's first street medical team. Doctors and other health workers will seek out people living on the streets to provide treatment. Father Joe's says 30% of homeless people have complex health needs but don't seek help. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.